Hey, Brian from Garage Mahal. Today we are working on a 2017 Titan XD, and we are doing the rear differential. So I'll give you kind of an idea. Now, I did spray these down with WD-40 ahead of time. So, two things that you want to do first. One, you want to pick up 2 quarts of 75 W140 by Valvoline. It's full synthetic. It's great for the rear differential. And you want to pick up one of these, I guess, transmission differential case kits. Super useful. And this one is going to be actually the S3/8. And one thing you want to check first and foremost, is you want to make sure that you can open the fill. Okay, I always get this confused. So you want to make sure that your fill port opens up, because if it doesn't, you're going to not be able to fill it, so why drain it? So let's go to the bottom. This is your drain plug. And the same thing, make sure you spray it down with WD-40 pretty well, and then you basically would just want to disconnect that. And you don't need a lift. You can definitely do this in your driveway. And just be ready for a little bit of a mess. And it's actually, it doesn't look that bad, but we're going to clean it anyway. It has a little bit of a burnt smell. Alright, so that is just about drained. And we'll drain pretty quick because there's not a lot in there. So I'm going to make sure that I break this top one loose a little bit more. And this one's being a little stubborn. Actually, this thing's being a whole lot stubborn, so we're going to manually doing this completely. Alright, so that's your top. And this does have a little rubber gasket, as well as I think the bottom one did as well. So we're actually going to clean this off a little bit. Because I don't trust rubber seals 100%, especially after they've aged a little bit. So we're going to put some Permatex thread sealant on this. So we're done dripping, which I think we're pretty close. So let's get this. I'm just going to do a quick coat around. It's actually way too much. Alright, so we're just about done dripping. Okay, so that's good. So we're going to put this back in here. Back down. Okay. And you don't have to make it He-Man tight, but torque this back. So, alright, so that's nice and sealed. Now, for the rear, we're going to be using this 75 W140. And it's got this. Of course, with gloves makes it a little challenging, so get hand again the Leatherman out. I'll pull that seal off, and get the cap off. Of course, when your hands are greasy, nothing works, right? Okay, we're gonna snap this open. I'm gonna be pretty aggressive. We're gonna go about halfway. I thought I was going to be able to do it with the plier end, but let's get the knife out. Right, so that's nice and off. So it does have a natural curve to it, which is pretty cool because you can start filling this up pretty easy. You just want to squirt it in, kind of like roll it in. So first quart we know is going to go in no problem. It actually fills it really quick. We're going to back out. And we're going to just roll it like a tube of toothpaste. A little dried out here today. Alright, so that was that. We're going to actually recycle that top. Make things a lot easier. We got 2 quarts. Of course, everything's nice and greasy now. And again, we'll just recycle this top. And again, I like how it's got the natural flair to it. And we'll just get that in. Now this you want to pay particular attention to. So when it's full, it's going to want to squirt back out at you. That's why you don't want to keep it too far out. Okay, so where we last left off, I actually had to cut filming a little bit because I was actually, from what I found online, for the Titan it actually called for 2 quarts of the 75-140, but after we started filling it, obviously it was not completely filled. So I had to go out and get another quart of the 75-140. So my delusion is it's not going to take it all, but we need a little bit more just to get it to where we need the proper level on this. So let's get going, and I'm going to get my drip tray just to Alright, so we got our drip tray installed, and again I'm going to recycle this other tip on here just so we can keep everything nice and easy. And like I said, these pull tabs are not the greatest, but that's why we have handy dandy plier. Alright, let's take this tip off. That's that. Okay. And again, let's try to get the right angle on here. We're just going to keep pouring until it comes out. Okay, so I think we're just about there, and yeah, to my surprise, it's actually taken, sounds a little gassy. Okay, 2. So it takes 3 full quarts. Do the toothpaste roll here because I want to make sure we have this completely filled up properly. Okay, so I'm going to step on my step stool here real quick. So you kind of get, so if you kind of look in there, I don't know if the camera angle is good, but it is like right on the edge. So kind of like move it around so you can kind of see a little bit depending on the camera angle. But it's filled up to right where it's got to be, so that's perfect. And it took 3 quarts. Online, the specs for the Titan, it was showing that everything took it took about like it said 2 quarts, but anyway. So we're just gonna clean this drip up a little bit, and we're gonna put our cap back on. Again, clean the threads, and at the end of this there is a magnet, so you want to get any of that gook off there. And the same thing with the bottom one. It had a magnet on there. I didn't show it on film when I cleaned it, but it was there. And then we're going to put some of this Permatex seal on this. Just a quick swipe. And it does have a rubber seal, but I always want to make sure that we don't have any leaking issues. And then we just put this back into place, and then torque the spec, and we're good to go. So you see how that Permatex makes a nice little coating on the outside, so you know that the threads are completely covered, and you're safe and you're good to go on that one. Okay, so that is, there wasn't too much left in there. So yeah, it took just about 3 quarts. So we're going to move down, and we are going to do the front. All right, so this is obviously towards the front. This is your front differential. So it has the same S 3/8. So this is kind of just like an extended socket. You could actually put up there, and your 3/8 ratchet will fit in there, but this gives you just a little bit more clearance, you know, and it comes in this and that kit. So, all right, so what you want to do is you want to just crack the bottom, and then the top, same thing, just crack it open. All right, so you make sure that you have movement on it, because obviously if you can't get this cap off to fill it, there's no need to actually drain it, because then you're going to run into all sorts of issues. But make sure you hit it with some WD-40, and that will be plenty to get this nice and going. So you want to get ready for that to basically spill all over the place. So you can tell how it's kind of oozing out there. It's not in the greatest shape. So this one hasn't probably been done in like forever. So that is the cap I was telling you about. And if you just kind of see all that like gray material, that's actually little pieces of metal that have stuck to that magnet. Not bad, not bad. Obviously, if you had some really bad shavings, you would be like, yo, you got to do something. But this isn't too bad. I get oil all over the place. So let me just kind of do a quick clean on this. And let me get another rag ready. Okay, so we're going to loosen the top cap a lot more. Just kind of like let the air get in there and help that. I'm not going to take it all the way out, but kind of like rest it there until we're ready to fill, so I don't get those two caps confused. But it looks like it's just about done dripping. We're going to let it drip for a couple seconds more. And then with the cap, put some of that Permatex just to make sure that we're good on this. Just kind of do a quick coating. Sometimes I end up getting a little heavy and sloppy with the stuff, but that's okay. So I'm going to put this back in. Okay, torque to spec. And just make sure that that is completely done. Completely done draining. Now on the front, they recommend the 7590, so that's what we're going to be putting in. And again, we are going to be using the Valvoline full synthetic. Let's see if these, again with greasy fingers, no way to get that open. So we'll recycle that cap. And since we got this one undone, so again we'll check this magnet. So you can kind of see it's got a little bit of residue, not much. You can kind of see it's a little bit thicker because that's all the metal that's been trapped in there. And again, no big deal. That looks pretty clean, no matte shavings. And then this calls for, it takes about 2 1/8 quarts. So again, trick of it is getting up in there into that hole, and you just basically just squeeze it in there. And this model Titan, I don't see that it has a skid plate, but they usually have a skid plate. So if you're wondering why I didn't show that, it's because I didn't have one to remove. Again, just like a thing of toothpaste. I think we got this pretty well emptied. Let's see. No, we got a little bit more, so we're gonna get this going a little bit. Give that one last little squirt in there. Okay. All right, so that's that one. Take this lid off, and with the Leatherman, just open that up, and we'll recycle this lid here. Put it all in a hole and then just start squirting this in here. Okay. Let's get the toothpaste thing going on. The last couple amounts in. I think we're full. Yeah, so that didn't take as much as we thought it would. So we'll just let that drain itself out. And you can reuse this, but I'm not going to reuse that. Alright, so we're just going to let that drain out and level off, and then we'll be able to seal that back up. That stream is a little more choppy, so we're going to actually put the thread stuff on, Permatex. And I think we're just about done. So you'll see the stream kind of like slow down. You can wait for it to fully drip, or if you're seeing this, you can see how it's like slowed down to a couple drips here and there. So we know we're good. So we'll get that. Get that going. Now we'll just tighten it down. Tighten it to spec. Okay, so we're good there. Let's do a quick cleanup. Okay, so we're good there. Okay, so now we're going to be doing a transfer case, changing fluid in that. It's basically a mini transmission. So your full synthetic transfer case fluid is going to be kind of like a transmission fluid, but usually a little bit of a thicker viscosity. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that's how I understand it. This is going to take 3 quarts of the full synthetic, and for Nissan, it's their ATF4, I guess is what they're calling for. Obviously, it's like super expensive from the dealership, so this is your best alternative. And I'm using a clamp, and why is because when you start using a transfer pump and this gets light, this will fall over, go all over the place. So we're going to try to use this trick to stay a little bit cleaner as we go. So we're going to open that up ahead of time, and we'll get this a little bit closer to where we got to go and kind of square this up on my little board here so we don't get crazy. So on a transfer pump, if you ever wondered, the top is always going to be kind of like your suction line. So, and you can always tell, I always get these confused. And you can put your hand on either side and pump it, and you'll be able to feel the air coming out from that side, and then injecting out on the other. So let's get that in a bottle and ready to go. And like I said, you end up getting stuff all over the place. So just be careful. Drain the last couple bit out. We'll get this onto my little workstation here, which will move just slightly out of the way. So we're going to catch the fluid coming out. And again, make sure that you spray everything down with WD-40. Just to ahead of time is obviously preferred, because you can make opening these so much easier. Let it soak in there to kind of penetrate. So as always, you want to loosen the fill port first, because obviously if you can't loosen that, you're not going to be able to do anything with the bottom. So let's almost get that open completely to let some air get through there and kind of flow easier. And then this is going to be your bottom. And I'm going to move this pan up a little bit higher, because these things like to shoot all over the place. So I'll get that going. And then that's got a good flow to it. And always look at this. So in this case, this is like super clean. There's no metal in there whatsoever. So that's great. And this is obviously has been changed once before. So that's good. Stay on top of that. And then we'll just let that drain down. Should drain pretty quick. Like I said, just get that almost ready to go. Just let that kind of sit there so the air gets in there. Alright, we're getting close to being done. So this is like the last bit before it starts dripping. And you can see how the stream is choppy. And as it's draining, I always kind of like put my hand in front of it and shine the light around just to make sure you don't see like a lot of metallic pieces in there. Even though that magnet was completely clean, it is good to obviously check that completely. So we're just about done dripping there. So we are going to take some Permatex thread sealant and just put it back on here. Kind of just help that seal a little bit. And don't put it on too heavy. And try not to interfere with the magnet like I just did, because this is where it's going to catch most of your filings. Alright, so yeah, we're done dripping, so we'll put this on. And then we'll put that down, tighten it to spec. Alright, so we're just about good on that, nice and snug. Alright, so clean some of that off. Okay. And then the top one we just remove. Check for, same thing, check the magnet. And this one is clean as well. So you're just gonna make sure that's ready. Okay, and then let's go for fill number 1. Like I said, these things get a little messy, but just put the hose in, and then you want to start pumping. And you'll feel it go through. Just make sure I'm at the bottom of the quart. I think we're just about done. I'm going to tilt this quart a little bit forward. And you can hear that that is done. Okay. And we're going to loosen up our grip. And we're going to put that hose over here. So that's basically done. Put that out of the way. Cap on, and we'll get this other one nice and squeezed in. Open. Okay, now we'll get this hose back down, back into the quart, and then we'll start pumping again. Now I said 2 quarts, so we're going to see if it starts dripping out the top as we get closer to getting done. Sounds like we're just about done. Let's tilt that forward a little bit. Still not dripping out yet. So let's just take the hose. So that's not the back part of it filling out. That's just what I've leaked out into the threads. So we're gonna put that back in there. And then this quart is done. Release that. In, squeeze a little hug. Now before we start getting crazy on this one, let's just double check, make sure that it's not like really pushing itself out, which it's not. So that's just the residual coming out from what I spilled. So let's do a couple pumps. Spider crawling on me, but I think we got him. Okay. All right, so see how it's pouring out? That's the level you want to get to. So we'll let that drain the level off. So we know we're done with our pump. So it took about, I don't know, my delusion is probably, let me see how much is left in here. Yeah, it took a little over 2 quarts. So let's let that drain, and I'm going to let this pump. I'm going to clean the pump out. Let that drain. This is such a messy job, so obviously be prepared. And we'll just like let this hang down. All right, as we let that drip. Let me just add some Permatex to this. I'll try to be a little bit neater with this top one. And we'll just let that drip into just about being done. And you'll see it like slow down to a quick drip. Alright, so we're basically just about done dripping. So we'll start screwing this back in. And then tighten it down to spec, and then just make sure you're good there. You shouldn't get any leaks from up there, but you always want to be safe, and then recheck this, make sure that that's not leaking and you have that torqued correctly. Wipe off some excess. All right, and that's good. And then next we will work our way over to the transmission pan, and we'll be right back. All right, Brian from Garage Mahal. We're back on the 2017 Titan, and we are going to change the transmission fluid in this. Now, this probably needs a new transmission pan. You can tell from the rust. Thank you, Northeast Pennsylvania. Ask the customer. They don't want to replace it. They just want the fluid changed. A little bit of a process because my delusion is that we're only going to get about 3.5 quarts out at a time. I believe this is 11 quarts to fill this whole system up. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I remember reading. However, so we're probably going to have to do a fluid change, drain it out, fill it up, bring it for a drive, bring it back, put it up, change the fluid, bring it out for a drive, and then do that about 3 times to get as much dirty transmission fluid out as possible. This is a little bit of a messy process, but I got this new Aries pump over here that I'm kind of excited to try out. That should make this a lot easier. But you want to precisely measure how much fluid you are taking out, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge with this. Actually, I think I have a bigger funnel here. Yeah, so that funnel. All right, so I got a little bit of a bigger funnel. It's something I'd like to do is I like to put a, basically like a clamp underneath the bottle, and that will help stabilize it so it's not like rocking and rolling all over the place. So since this is a little rusty, I had sprayed this down with WD-40. And these are still pretty stiff, so we're going to give them another quick shot at WD. And this one especially, this is a 5mm Allen key. So there's a little bit of rust on there, so I'm going to gently push that up in there. And I'm going to use a vice grip to put around this, because otherwise you can strip that pretty easy. So get a vice grip that has that kind of like roundish bite to it, and then you want to turn it counterclockwise, and I think we have it loose enough. Okay, so cool. So obviously I want to loosen that, because if we can't loosen this, we're not going to be able to fill it. And then same thing with this. I think that was it's a 19mm socket, and it was giving me a hard time before, but Yeah, so, okay, so we got that nice and loose. Yours is probably not going to be that loose, so just be aware. And then now the trick is going to be getting this transmission fluid to aim. See, it's still a little tight. Okay, so there we go. So the idea is to get this to drain in the hole. All right, so got a little bit on me, but that's okay. We're kind of expecting that. And this is the bottom bolt. So you want to look, it's got a magnet on it, so you want to look and see if there's any metal filings on that. And it looks pretty clear, so I think we're in pretty good shape. So while this fills up, see, we're almost at about 2 quarts. And it's still flowing pretty good. So I think we'll probably get about 3.5 out of this from what I read. And again, this is the first time I've had to deal with this type of transmission. And this fill cap, we're just going to let that so a little air gets up in there. It helps bring this fluid down. And we're about almost 3.5, so we're still going pretty strong. Well, 3.5, we might get more of that out of here. It's starting to slow down. So we're almost at 4. And always shine a light through, put your hand behind it, see if you see any metallic flakes, which we don't. Looks pretty clean. All right. Coming up to about 4.25, and it looks like that might be about all you're going to get. But we're going to let that keep continually to fill, or actually drain rather. So we might get about 4.5 out of it. That's actually going to be quite a bit. Okay, so let's move these tools over here. We're done with that vice grip. And we're going to bring the Aries up here. This kit's pretty cool. Brand new. I just bought it. So, me and you are going to be the first to actually try this out. So, it goes by liters, which is kind of good. So, we can kind of, this bottle that I was using, it's a Pennzoil, old bottle. So, we're going to let that continue to go. So, we're probably going to need about 4 liters of replacement fluid in here. So the pump comes off for easy filling, which is great. We can put a funnel spout there. So let's fill that with 4 quarts. And right there. All right, so we're going to use a Valvoline Max Life Full Synthetic ATF. Calls for an ATF 4 or ABCD or ATF-D for the Nissan. Since we don't have that available to us in this market, we are going to use this instead. And pull that seal off completely. Now we're going to fill that with 4 to match what we've pulled out. Almost overfilled that. All right. gonna let that drain out. So we have 4 liters. I think that's about what is going to. It's just under 4 liters here. And we're a little bit more than 4 liters, so we're going to add an extra quart, which I have. So it's about 4 1/4. Looking from this side, we'll add a little more. So it's not quite 4 1/2 yet. So we're going to let that drain out a little bit more and we'll see where it falls. So we want to let as much get out as possible. Alright, we're getting close to the end here, so I'm going to actually add some Permatex thread to the bottom of this real quick. Just because I want a nice, good, clean seal. And we'll get that stuff off the magnet. Okay. And I think we're just about done. So it's 4 1/4. That's about all we're going to get out of that. So just tighten this down to spec. Okay. We're good there. Let's wipe off the excess. Alright, so looking at this, we got about 4 1/4. We have about 4 1/4 liters on this. So that's a pretty good match. We're going to keep that open in case we overfill. Now, let's open. Now let's unscrew this. So that is going to be our fill valve. And we want to match the one that's going to be thread-wise, what's going to match to the Nissan. So looks like that. And it looks like this one, a 13, is going to be a match. So they're plastic, so be very gentle how you're putting them in there. Alright, so that is that. Now this, what we're doing, you're basically sliding this up, and then you're going to put this pressure fit down. I'm going to let that hang. And we're done with this. Done with that funnel. We're going to put this pump on top. Okay. And we're going to try one of 2 things here. First, we're going to pump some air in this. And this is going to make it pump through the hose. And back up into the transmission. Then we're going to open this hose, and now it's going to let it flow up into the transmission. And not super fast, nice and slow. Here going up in there. You can see the fluid level dropping on this. It's going pretty good. about 3 and falling. Like I said, I don't want to rush this. I don't want to any labellos or valves or anything else in this. So we'll just let it kind of fill up nice and easy. But so far this is pretty quick and painless, my goodness. Yeah, we're almost at the 2-quart mark. I think I'll give it a couple pumps here and there just to keep it filling up. And we're almost done. Got about 1.5 quarts left. And we got less than 1 quart, or 1 liter rather. Almost done. Getting down to the last bit of it. Almost done. There's a couple pumps. I think that we are almost done. Yeah, we're starting to see some bubbles come through here. So that looks like we're about done. Let's get those last couple. So that's the last of it. We're going to be proactive. We're going to put some pipe thread on this. Make sure we clear the top of that off. And we'll just put enough to cover the thread, so I don't want too much laying around up in there. Okay. Trick of this is going to be getting this out as fast as we can, and then putting this valve in. Okay, good deal. And we'll just close that off. Snug. And be good to go. A little bit of a mess, but overall pretty easy. Kind of like pretty satisfied with that overall. So that is your Aries transmission fill pump. That worked out really good. A lot less messy than the usual way. But anyway, Brian from Gospel Hall, thanks for watching, and be safe out there. Now we're going to go drive and rinse and repeat.